Hello, hello, hello. It's Akiva here. Doing another review. Um, this is Jordan Peterson and Russell uh, Russ, Russell Brand. Um, they always have an interesting conversation. I've come to really admire and respect his commentary. Russell. I think he's a Marxist or whatever, but um, he is kind of thoughtful, very thoughtful person. So even when you disagree with him, you know you have to come up with your A game. Um, and the reason why you disagree with it, you can't just dismiss him outright. So this should be fun. And Jordan never um, fails. He knows his stuff. So it's great intellectuals see what they get to say.
Category of a billionaire. How is he different? How is he the same? And how will Elon Musk's position at Twitter alter your position on Twitter?
Well, that
As we are talking right now, as we're speaking, I think Jordan is still banned on Twitter. That he's not allowed to be on Twitter. But meanwhile, the Ayatollah um, is allowed to be on. Something is not right, I must say.
remains to be seen. I'm still banned, so that hasn't changed. I mean, he's suggested that he might reinstate Trump. Whether or not that means he'd reinstate me is a matter of question. It isn't obvious to me that the people who run the social media networks know exactly how to regulate them with any degree of utility. You know,
I think in the beginning, um, Twitter. See, I'm a little bit concerned of the way they are, because if you think about Twitter, is where sometimes dissidents can plan. Um, I mean, most people in America, use it, or people who have no life just sit on it and just complain about it. But if you live in a third country or oppressive country, sometimes it has helped um, topple government, or whether you like it or not, or even start demonstrations. So um, there's a lot of things that I think you should leave the way things are. But unfortunately, and if you don't want to go on, just get out. Or with maybe some kind of moderation, you can choose to follow people, or you cannot choose to follow people. You still should have the right of or you can block people. But
probably read
not...
100,000 comments online, or maybe more. And I've tried to read them with a psychologist's eye. And there are some things going on online that are, I think, that actually pose a threat to the integrity of the culture itself. The biggest problem that I can see is that the large online platforms allow anonymous troll demons to rampage through society with no cost to themselves. And
Fortunately, they have to. You see, they are looking for engagement, right? And the people that you're talking about are the people that tend to set people off and create a conversation or get people going. So I'm not sure if it's in the interest of the companies, since they want people to be on there, to really cut them off.
can identify these people quite accurately now. This will make a number of the people who are watching and listening uncomfortable, because they'll be in the list of people who do this sort of thing. So the first thing is they have an anonymous name.
I haven't actually watched this, so so I don't know what he's saying. They have an anonymous okay.
Second thing is the anonymous name usually has something psychologically significant.
I can't keep anonymous. Oh, tired. anonymous name. Um, but like I said, when some, it's not always the case. Um, I think sometimes they are trying to hide their identity because they live in a country where, let's say if you live
Significant
in
about it
China,
in a very negative direction.
right? You wouldn't want people who are, you know, being subversive to the government to identify themselves. So there are consequences to everything, trade-offs.
So it's self-denigrating, or it's demonic, or it's otherwise offensive and purposefully so.
Or what about if somebody works, let's say, some corporation? I think um, what we should think about before we tell people, or we demand things from Elon or whoever is what about if works for a corporation and they see corruption and they want to, leak it, or without, you know, coming out first? I think those are the things we should kind of think about before we, you know, go doing things, because whenever you correct something, sometimes what you're trying to correct, you end up creating more problems.
And then the people who are utter cowards, likely to be narcissists and Machiavellians, resentful people sitting in their basement at home, dwelling on their misery and doing everything they can to spew toxicity out into the world. Alone in their bedrooms, they're just isolated people who aren't causing any trouble. But as soon as they multiply themselves,
Oh my goodness, Jordan. I think he's been looking at the people who have been attacking him, and he's vented. Oh my goodness.
millions of times using this incredible, powerful computer
That's
technology,
true.
they're not even human anymore. In my estimation, they're literally a demonic force. And I mean that in a technical sense, right? You and I aren't exactly you and I in this conversation.
Okay, this is a psychological. uh, are you? I'm not sure. I think Jordan is just a little bit over. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Because we're amplified hundreds of times or thousands of times or hundreds of thousands of times. And so we're not just human, we're android.
That's true. Look, if I'm talking to someone, there's probably in person, probably they are, you know, we always like to think we are different, but we're all the same. We're human beings. And if we're talking to people face to face, there's probably certain things or how we will say things that we might not say in person, right? So, but on Twitter, I mean, if and also, it's something like it's right there. Whatever you feel, you just type it right there. Where if let's say a politician makes you mad or does something, by the time you meet them or something, that you have had time. The immediacy of responding and writing something that comes out of your mind without thinking about it. You know, it's a problem. But I'm not sure if
In
it's
some
demonic.
sense, operating in a virtual space. And these online trolls have that power because they have access to an audience that they would never gather by their own merits. They are saying things that are derisive and inflammatory and that would
I'm not sure. Because, I mean, people have always attracted people. I mean, so, I mean, they have people who have always. I mean, you have groups that we will consider them to be awkward, that they meet, they have, you know, they have camps, they have, so I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. But what I agree with him is, yes, it is true that this makes things a little bit more easier than it would have been if it wasn't for Twitter. Yeah, that I agree. That I agree.
Absolutely 100% get them punched if they ever said it in public. Imagine that there's a hierarchy of unconstrained people, and there's a variety of people who are very unconstrained, but in normal social discourse would be able to keep themselves under control because of the controls that are there in normal social discourse. You lift those controls and they just go off. And so that's what we're seeing online. And that has to be stopped. I think the large tech companies should be required to put in know your customer laws. They should ban anonymous accounts, but in this way. Imagine that you have a section for comments where it's real human beings that are verified, and you have another section underneath that's for anonymous.
Like I said, I disagree. Be careful what you wish for, right? Let's say Jordan is accused of something, but then you have anonymous whistleblower who wants to come out and say, can like Licky Wig, with Julian Assange. I mean, I think in the beginning, that's what Twitter was. I mean, Twitter, that was like the free speech platform. Was to expose the Arab Spring wouldn't have happened without Twitter, and I hope places like you know um, Russia and China, especially China, get to have Twitter sometime soon, because if it's easy for the government to come after you, then it defeats the purpose.
Troll demons. And if you want to go visit their hell and see what their resentful minds are spewing into the public landscape, then you can. Otherwise, you stick to the real human beings. And I don't know if Musk and the other people who are running the big social media networks understand the pathology that's associated with this online commentary well enough to control it. So we'll see.
What I would like to draw your attention to, still sort of within the broad rubric of looking at Musk's acquisition of Twitter and how that may play out and how it may affect you personally. I was myself struck with, I think the tweet that you were banned for was sort of like commenting on Elliot Page. How do we prioritise compassion, kindness, love? And can't this basic palette of principles prevent us from getting into conflict around these ideas?
Yeah. This is Russell going on with his compassion and love and all those. So Jordan was banned for tweeting about Elliot Page, and Jordan believes that she's or he is enticing other young people. And I think, look, we live in a society, if we have to be honest, that people want to become victims and people want to have specialty, and some of this stuff is becoming like a fad. That's what I think, because when I talk to young people who, since it, they want to, and their parents don't, are scared because they're being told that if you do it, they might commit suicide. I don't know. I think it's just a very tough.
Well, it isn't obvious to me that love can be reduced to compassion at all, because for a variety of reasons. First of all, I think love is a multidimensional virtue, and there's many other virtues than compassion. Think about it this way, Russell. Imagine that the purest expression of compassion is the love of a mother for a true infant. We could really think about that as true compassion, 100% compassion. And the reason for that is that if you have an infant from birth to, say, 6 months old, nothing the infant does is ever to be questioned. The proper response to the infant is, whatever the cause of their distress, you immediately prioritize its reduction. But then as the child starts to develop, and as soon as it becomes capable of its own voluntary movement, as soon as it becomes ambulatory, its nervous system starts to change, of course. But then there are other elements that have to be introduced into the relationship to make it a relationship of proper love. And some of that's judgment, which is often considered antithetical to compassion. and some of it's encouragement, and encouragement has a fair bit of judgment in it, because when you're encouraging someone, you're not exactly being compassionate for who they are. You're doing what you can to facilitate who they could be. And what you're doing constantly when you're encouraging someone is prioritizing who they could be.
That's a very good, I think, we have, I heard a Democrat governor say love is love. No, what does that mean? Love is love. I mean, no. I mean, if I love a dog, is that love? I mean, I think we are becoming a society that we're just becoming very careless and useless with our languages.
Over who they are. And that's an element of judgment. And that judgment, you might say, if you're not thinking.
Yeah, like if you're a parent, right, and you have a child, and I mean, you just don't say love and compassion so they should eat ice cream all day. I mean, I love Russell, but I think, sometimes his stuff goes, I don't know, bunkers, because uh, you'll be a bad parent. You'll be a bad parent if you do that. Just say, "Oh, love is love," so let's not do anything. Um, but love is love, so let's not do anything. Let's go.
About it precisely from the religious perspective is your own ability to decide which parts of you should go. Then the question is, are you compassionate for who you are, or are you compassionate for who you could be? And the second is just as important, or maybe more important.
And when that's applied to the self, I can see that the requirement for this judgment, the great success you've had in, clean your room, stand up straight, these kind of edicts offered to young men or young people who require discipline, I can see the success of that. But Jordan, I feel that when it becomes an outward strike of like, this person should not have done this thing, this is the impact of these actions will have on the culture, this will lead to this kind of denigration, this will lead to decisions that are, in my view, palpably wrong, I feel that this is where we have to redress.
Like I said, you never, Russell always seems to, um, he didn't say anything he didn't really say very much, alright.
An imbalance around compassion. I feel that Elliot Page should be able to do whatever Elliot Page wants to do, and that my only role is to say, I recognise that I don't understand, and why would I understand? There are less obvious things that you could never understand about me. They're less evident and obvious, and for me, the basic principle of kindness and compassion is going to be my guide when dealing with Elliot Page and when posting something about Elliot Page. I do have recourse to the idea of, what do I want Elliot Page to feel? Happy, accepted. That's what I want.
If you feel like someone is doing something bad, and you say, "Oh, I don't want to offend this person, so I want this person to feel good about themselves. So I don't want him to." I mean, you are part of the problem. Sometimes truth really hurts. Yes, I think you should do it with compassion. But I mean, saying that you just want someone to feel good, it's not. It's neither good or decent or even justice or even right. You sometimes you just got to do the right thing because it's just the right thing, and that might cause friction. I think his logic doesn't. It's not
Elliot
very
Page
sound.
to feel, and if there are aspects of that I don't understand, then
he's a very feeling emotional guy.
I'm willing to take the hit.
When you think about your behavior on your YouTube channel, you're spending a lot of time in public criticism, and going after large corporations, going after those who are engaged in fascist collusion, and I think rightly so. I think that you're an extremely useful voice in that regard, and you're a critical voice, and you're a critical comedic voice, which is a good kind of critical voice, and not exactly compassionate, right? Because you're also using creativity on the humor side to make your point, and you're doing it in a playful way. And I think that playful criticism is the hallmark of the master critic. And I think the joker and the jester in that regard are master critics. But that's not compassion, right? That's a different virtue. And often it's very, very pointed. You do act as a social critic in many, many ways, and you do leaven it with comedy, and I think that's extraordinarily appropriate. It's part of what's given you such a broad voice.
Yep. When you talk about the royal family, all those things, I mean, why? Why not, accept the monarchy the way it is? Oh, the monarchy should just be the way. I mean, let's live rich people and I mean, come on.
Voice. And that criticism is absolutely necessary. Now, let's speak about Elliot Page more specifically. So the first thing I'd like to bring up is the fact that in the UK, the Tavistock Clinic was recently closed. And that was the biggest clinic doing gender transformation surgery that operated in the British world.
Now, I must say, I don't know a lot about this gender stuff. I do have a lot of friends, or know people who have done this gender assignment, and like Russell, I want to be careful in the way I come off as not. It's like we don't know a whole lot, but we're informed by tradition. We're informed by, say, so whenever you are going, we stepping on the gas, you just gotta slow down a little bit, and that would be my caution to the community.
1,000 of the 19,000 kids have now launched a lawsuit for medical malpractice. And when Elliot Page went online and showed off his or her new chest, she or he got 1.7 million Instagram likes. So then the question is, okay, compassion. Well, I think Elliot Page stepped over the line from victim to perpetrator, because
wow, and I think that's the problem, right? Because it's almost like she's advertising, maybe she's not. Maybe she just wants, hey, this is who I am now. I'm okay. I feel good or whatever. But if it comes off as she's advertising and she's, perpetuating this problem.
When girls hit puberty, their negative emotion spikes, and they develop bodily image problems because neurotic. And that would be negative emotional experience for women is extremely tightly tied to body image. And so if you're a girl who is undergoing the hormonal changes that are going to elevate your negative emotion, which is what happens at puberty, you're going to be focused on body image. And if you're an unpopular girl and you're awkward socially, the probability that you're going to think something's wrong with your body is almost 100% if you're female.
So I can see what makes you angry about it. It's your analysis and it's your opinion that it's a powerful influencer and it's going to lead people to make decisions that are going to be detrimental to their lives. But the evident and palpable anger, I feel, diminishes your position because now anger is in the conversation. I think you offer a great deal that is valuable and necessary, but I feel beyond the value and necessity of honesty, authenticity.
Now, Russell and Jordan are friends, so this is a very interesting kind of back and forth. That he feels Jordan is angry and upset. If you look at Jordan, maybe he is. I don't know.
and information that is underwritten by data and experience, I feel that it creates more opposition to approach a matter like this in the manner that you have done. What are we going to anchor ourselves to ultimately, Jordan, navigating this space? Are we going to be participants in creating more and more ossified and oppositional camps, or are we going to create cartilage between us so that we can move between the room that Jordan
Oh, Mr. Love.
Peterson is in and a room that Elliot Page is in, and say, look, I believe in love, and I know it's complicated. I think you're beautiful and full of love. I really believe in that. And then when I sort of hear people being dismissive of you, it upsets me. It upsets me, and I see how you arm them. I feel that you arm them by sort of, in their language, dead naming Elliot Page. And I feel like why would you do that? It isn't necessary. It isn't necessary.
No, I think I see where he's coming from. Because he's giving this as if you take different side of the view of this movement, I dare not mention the real thing for the algorithm to come up upon me. See, we have to kind of edit ourselves. So I see where he's coming from, right? Because he feels or thinks that, maybe that's not a very good approach to take. What would be his approach? See.
Of course, it's the statistics you've cited about the Tavistock Clinic appear to speak for themselves. Is there a way that we can handle this that would be more akin to how we might imagine Christ would handle it? Otherwise, what's the point of Christianity? What's the point of Christianity if we're not going to embody Christ in our behavior?
Look, everybody who's operating in the online space that we're operating is trying to get the tone right? And you do that in part by paying attention to the audience, and you do that by trying to see how people are responding, and not in a way that's pandering, but in a way that's open and attentive. And it's a very difficult thing to get right. So the question you're asking is, well, when is anger appropriate? When is it not appropriate? When is it only inflammatory? That's a really hard question to answer, to get that balance between judgment and encouraging acceptance right. I suppose part of the problem is we don't know exactly how emotions scale in an online environment, right? And definitely I found that even when I'm delivering very cutting material, as I just wrote an article for The Telegraph on the upcoming privation that Europe is going to be facing in the rest of the world in the winter. And I tried to read it as calmly as I possibly could, even though it's extremely cutting. And the calm delivery seems to alienate fewer people and bring people in more than an angry delivery without any shift in semantic content. The right principle is probably something like minimal necessary force in your personal interactions and minimal necessary emotion in your online behavior. But it's hard to know exactly what that means, and it's not as if
It's balance. I think it's balance. You just don't say, let's do love and compassion. And I think I agree with. I lean towards more what he's saying. Maybe not fully. That I think when you are discussing issues and you just go this way or that way, you're probably wrong. I think you should always, unless it's like something that is definitely right and wrong, that there's definitely right and wrong. You should always allow those tensions, because for you to struggle through tensions, doesn't the tensions will not just let will not allow you to be just a demagogue, right? But instead it will give you a guide to be thoughtful and compassion and really think through what you are really saying and doing, because there are other people on the side of your statement. So it's always maybe at the end, maybe I
think I've done it perfectly. I mean, you move like this towards that central line that hopefully is moving uphill.
Watch entire episodes on demand.
Maybe more. And I've
Yeah. So it's very good in life to always allow tensions to exist because you never know. So this is end of Jordan Peterson and Russell. I think it was an interesting discussion. I didn't have to say very much because they pretty much said. But what I will say, just go towards is, I think we be sometimes things are very black and white to a lot of people, and maybe life is a little bit sometimes more gray. And you know, when I'm because of my traditions and my I will get towards something, and I always want to say, okay, why do these people feel this way? Love will literally, you know, and you have to know there are people at the end of the thing. So you have to allow tensions to exist. You know, truth and love, truth and love, truth and love. You know, yes, this is wrong. Okay, love because I love somebody and they are part of, you know, they're on the side of this argument. So I'm going to be thoughtful in the way I come up with, you know, my argument that they are real human beings, that this affect, you know, truth because this is right. So how you navigate and how the way you know say it's very very important, very very important. And I hope that we never forget that there are people on the side. So let's say the truth, but let's say the truth in in a gentle and loving way. All right, this is the end. Again, like, subscribe, and so we can be able to bring you more quality. This is videos. As we move forward, this is the new channel. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you.